Watering is very important. It's probably the most important thing that you're going to need to learn how to do to have a successful flower tent business. Watering is something that you're going to do on almost a daily basis. When it's warm out, you're going to need to do it maybe twice a day for certain flowers. For some flowers, you can skip a couple days, such as a begonia, for instance, likes it a little bit drier, where you would like to be dried out for maybe a day or two, then water it. If they get too much water, they have a tendency to get mold and mildewy, and they just fall apart. An opposite flower of that would be a New Guinea impatient, which loves water. If they don't get enough water, they will actually tell you, because they will actually start to wilt. But that's okay, because when you do water them, soak it up good, and then they come back to life, and they are back to life by the end of the day. So you're not losing any time with that plant at all. We'll start with watering hanging baskets. Hanging baskets are very important because they are a potted container. They will have a tendency to dry out faster than in a container or in a tray or in a pot. The reason being, they're more exposed to the wind. The wind will dry it out a little bit quicker. So we want to start with these. What we'll do is just take the watering wand. When you water, I'll back up for 1 second. When you water, and it's warm out like today is, make sure you let your hose run for a little bit, because test your water when it first comes out. Okay, make sure it's cool to the touch, because if the water is too hot, it's not good for the plants. So you might have to let it run for a minute or two. So what we'll do is, with the plain end, stick it in, count to maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now always be mindful of what's underneath. There's impatiens underneath these baskets. They like water, that's okay, they can get a little wet. But if there's petunias or begonias underneath, you don't want to get them wet. So we'll continue. Basically, it's going to be a count to 5. Like I was saying, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then go to your next basket. If you overfill it too much, it'll actually overflow the sides or start to drip, as that one is doing right there. That's an example of giving it just a little bit too much water. This one right here is one of the begonias. So to test this, what I'm going to do is stick my finger in it and feel how dry it is. If it feels like a real dry, gritty surface to it, that it doesn't feel any moisture at all, then I'm going to water it. You don't have to give it a real lot of water. Just like a little quarter turn on the shutoff valve works perfect. Now what we're going to do is water the smaller, like 4-inch pots and trays that'll be on your tables, that'll be on display inside the tent. When you do these, a couple very important things to remember. 1, always try to keep the water below the flower heads. A lot of the flowers, impatiens, petunias, ageratums, if they get too wet, they will show it and they'll start to wilt a little bit. Petunias have a tendency to get water spots on them. It's not going to hurt them. It doesn't affect the flowering ability of the flower any. It's just the appearance doesn't look good. So for retail's sake, we want to make sure that we keep everything looking as good as possible. So when we do it, we want to put the shower head on top of the watering wand. Just screw it on nice and easy. Get it on tight. And we're going to start. The best way to do it is go around to the edges and then through the middles. Now these pots are in what's called a 1004. They're a 1004. There's 10 pots and they're all 4-inch pots. So we're going to start with around the edge of the tray, trying to get them underneath. Go around the whole edge and then right down the middle like this. That way you are sure to get all the flowers that are inside there. You will do this same way for all the trays. And if you notice, there's several trays on here, and I'm going to go in between each one. That way, when you have a full trays, you make sure that you have everything watered. As you can see, I'm trying not to get the flowers wet because you don't want them wilty. When the pots are spaced a little bit more, you can go more directly into the pot then. It's a little bit easier when they're spaced. When you have your trays and your flowers later in the season, you're getting less and less flowers, okay, you have less and less available, feel free, take them, space them out a little bit, because that extra air in between the flowers will help them grow and maintain their habits a lot longer, and it also is a lot easier to water them then.